Hey everybody, welcome to Crazy Tech Lab, and we have an awesome PC build here for you today where we're going to be building an absolutely kick-ass PC that costs less than $1,800 but features things such as an RTX 4070 Ti Super with triple fans and 16 gigabytes of memory. We've got 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. We've got liquid cooling. We've got 2 terabytes of super fast PCI Express 4 SSD storage. We've got an Intel 14th gen processor, and we have a fabulous case here as well from MSI. So we are going to be looking at all of this hardware today, focusing on the motherboard. We're going to be having a quick look around on that thing, seeing what you get in terms of ports, audio, performance, and all the other stuff. We're going to have a quick look around the case when we're building the PC as well, and coming to some conclusions at the end. So all of the hardware that we're looking at and testing today, you can find in the description down below. Buy links, they are affiliate links, so they do help me out with here on the channel in terms of I get a very, very small cut from those bits of hardware. I'd also like to thank MSI for sponsoring today's video. And if you have any comments on the hardware choices that I've made today or any of the other things you've seen in this video, don't forget to comment down below. And also like this video as well. Liking and commenting just helps punch me through the algorithm and gets me noticed and allows me to keep on doing videos like this. And of course, if you found it super useful, you can even subscribe or even buy me a coffee using the link in the description below as well. So lots of cool hardware here today. It's going to be a liquid cool PC. We've got cutting edge gear here to shove into this case, and hopefully plenty of eye candy at the end as well, and some pretty awesome performance from the RTX 4070 Ti Super with its new 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory as well. So let's crack on with the build. First of all, we're going to look at the motherboard, which is the MSI B760M Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. So this motherboard, very, very good value. It's around 150 bucks, about 130, 140 pounds here in the UK. The B760 chipset, so there's no overclocking, so there's no real point going for a K-series CPU, such as a 14600K, and just for the simple reason that you can't overclock it using the multiplier. But it still may be worth it if you just want the extra clock speeds, the 14600K reaching 5.3 gigahertz out of the box, the 14400 only reaching 4.7 gigahertz. Which is the CPU that we've got here today, but it is a lot cheaper. Doesn't have quite as many cores though either. So still a fantastic gaming CPU, much faster than an equivalent 12th gen CPU, for example, and more than enough for our system. So you can see it sitting happy in there in the box, or the socket, should I say. Its little box. And memory is an interesting one with this motherboard, because despite it being a budget motherboard, it does actually support DDR5 memory. So we're shoving in some Kingston Fury Renegade 6400 megahertz or MTs, mega transfers a second, whichever one you want to look at it. So that's kind of unusual for a budget motherboard, because normally they focus with DDR4 support, but with DDR5 kind of nearly in line with DDR4 pricing, and with the future looking like it's DDR5 only, with Intel's new socket coming probably in around 9 months time, and also AMD's current socket AM5 being DDR5 only. Buying DDR4 memory now is very, very pointless, because you're not going to be able to drop it into a new system. If you buy this stuff though, it might cost you maybe 10 bucks extra, but you'll be able to transplant this into your future system. So whether you go for AMD or Intel next time around, you'll be able to use this memory. So that's just one thing to bear in mind. It obviously depends on the price. MSI does have some excellent DDR4 motherboards as well. So we're focusing kind of on value here today. So the SSD that we're going to be using is the Kingston Fury Renegade. So this is a PCI Express 4 SSD, up to 7300 megabytes a second with this thing. So it's super, super fast. And we actually have 2 PCI Express 4 M.2 slots on here. So PCI Express 4 kind of dictates the bandwidth or the speed, if you like. And we have 2 of them on this motherboard. So we're going to be putting it in this one because that one has a nice heatsink on there, so it's going to stop that SSD from getting too toasty and potentially throttling. But won't be happening in this case, because the case, the Gungnir 300R MSI case that we've got here today, has very good cooling inside. So other things that we want to know about the motherboard is it has excellent VRM cooling here. So we've got 2 very, very large heatsinks. Not that we really need that, because we've got a mid-range CPU in here and we're not going to be doing any overclocking. We do have a single Type-C header down here, so that's the only form of Type-C that we have on this board. There's nothing on the rear panel. As you can see, no Type-C ports around there. That is only rated at USB 3 speed, so USB 3.2 Gen or 3.1 Gen 1, whatever way you want to look at it, or 3.2 Gen 1. So that is the only port on this motherboard that will support Type-C, and obviously that's going to be connecting to your case front panel, which the case that we're using does have as well. So it's fine if you just want to use it for charging your phone and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have the extra power delivery or bandwidth of faster types of USB Type-C, such as USB 3.2 Gen 2. So just be aware of that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then it's not going to matter to you anyway. So flipping it around, and we have a decent number of USB ports on the rear panel. So we've got 6 in total, and 4 of those are either USB 3 or faster, which is good. We've also got Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3. And audio is fairly basic, just standard Realtek 8-channel audio. We'll check out the chipset in a minute that they're actually using for that. I'm probably thinking it's going to be a Realtek 892, which is like the sort of low-end one, but perfectly okay, and just 3 ports on the rear channel for that as well. So we do have some SATA ports down here, so if you want to transplant your hard disk or SSD, you can do that. I'm guessing most of you out there will probably just be either building a new system or transplanting an M.2 SSD into there, but obviously plenty of you have hard disks and older 2.5-inch SSDs as well. So fan headers, what have we got here? We've got one down here, another one over there. We've got a CPU header over here and another one over here. So that one actually says pump or fan, so we're probably going to connect our AIO liquid coolers fan to that one down there, so we can make sure that the pump is running at full speed, but also potentially control the speed from that as well. The case that we're using does actually have a fan hub on it, so we can actually connect the case fans, of which there are 4 of them out of the box, so very generous from MSI. There are 4 of them, so we're going to connect those to the fan hub in the case and just power that off single cables. But the cooler, I think we're actually going to connect that to the motherboard, because I like having control over my liquid coolers, fans and pump. So that is nearly it, apart from the graphics card. So this is the Ventus 3X RTX 4070 Ti Super, so obviously NVIDIA, and this card has all the latest BIOS updates and everything else, so there are no issues with this one. So running at full speed, and obviously you get the perks of DLSS 3 and ray tracing to boost those frame rates in games as well. So a very, very compact card actually, excellent cooling, triple fans, and it's barely larger than dual slot, so it will fit into the vast majority of cases out there, and I'm looking forward to building some mini ITX PCs with this in the very near future as well. So that is pretty much it, other than to take a look at the processor. So we've got the Core i5-14400 in there. Now that doesn't have quite as many cores as the Core i5-14600K. Also has a slightly lower peak frequency of around 4.7 gigahertz, I believe, whereas the 14600K can reach 5.3 gigahertz. So this one is a little bit slower than the K series CPU, but because this is a 760 chipset motherboard, B760, there we go, got it out eventually. You can't overclock K series CPUs with this one. So if you want to go for a 14600K, you can. You'll benefit from more cores and higher frequency, but you won't be able to overclock it. You'll need a Z series motherboard for that. But I know plenty of people that have K series CPUs in motherboards like this one, a B series chipset motherboard, because they just want the extra cores and frequency, and they're not bothered about overclocking or anything. So that is pretty much it for our roundup here. The cooler, obviously, we've got the MAG Core Liquid E240 that we've looked at previously and reviewed here on this channel, so absolutely no qualms about using that one. Very, very good, very quiet, very powerful cooling, and very, very affordable as well. It costs around $100 at the moment, despite the fact it's got full RGB lighting on the pump and fans as well. So that is pretty much it from the roundup and unboxing, so let's crack on with the build. So here we are with the Gungnir 300R Airflow case from MSI, and I am seriously impressed with this thing for the money. So probably the most impressive thing is that you get 4 120mm RGB fans as standard. So that's not bad from a case that costs around $140, $150. We've got an adjustable GPU support here, so you can kind of move these things up and down to support your graphics card if it's particularly large. We probably won't need to use that today because the RTX 4070 Ti from MSI is not particularly large or heavy, so we're probably not going to be dealing with too much a graphics card droop or anything there. So, but just love the way that this thing looks. I love the angular front, and you get RGB lighting obviously in the front there. We've got plenty of ports on the top panel. And probably the most impressive thing about this case is the cable tidying. So you've got loads of Velcro ties here and lots of room in here for extra cables. It's going to be a great place to stow the ATX power cable, for example. And loads of space for SSDs and hard disks as well. That's quite a rare thing on the case these days. Hard disks, well, you know, we've got 2 slots down here. 2 hard disks is probably enough for most people, but it's nice that you don't have to sacrifice one of those to fit a 2.5-inch SSD in either. You can pick from any of these 4 slots. So the RGB lighting cable and the fan hub just run off individual cables, which you can see down here. So this one goes to your motherboard, and any fans that you connect to the fan hub up here will be powered by that single PWM cable. So probably best to connect that to a system fan header, and we can control that in MSI's BIOS as well. And if you want to see a guide on how to control your fans from the BIOS using the fan control suite there, you can see one of my other videos where I do a full BIOS guide or EFI guide, including fan control as well. So definitely check that out in the description below. So the other thing is the RGB cable, and again, that controls the RGB lighting of all of the fans. So just connect this to your motherboard, and or a 3-pin RGB slot, or RGB header on your motherboard, should I say, and then you'll be controlling all of the RGB fans. So we've got 4 fans as standard. They are all connected out of the box. And let me just double check that that is the case. Pretty sure it is. So yeah, so we've got 1, 2, I think 2 of them are up here. Can't see where the rest are. They're probably on like daisy chained cables or something like that. So I'm just going to double check for you guys that these are all connected, because I've literally only just opened the case myself, like undoing all MSI's lovely cable tidying here. So yeah, it looks like they're all daisy chained. So the fans are all of them are connected, and it's kind of cool that they are daisy chained, because it means that you have loads of extra fan headers on the USB hub. So if you want to add more fans, or if you want to add your all-in-one liquid cooler to that hub, I probably wouldn't recommend doing that, because it's potentially not going to be ramping up and ramping down as often as it needs to. But just look at all these little cable tidying anchor points. I'm just super impressed with this from MSI, because that's often missing on a lot of other cases. I know it's just kind of screwed in place, but it's just a nice touch to have those things there, because otherwise you're just left using your own plastic cable ties. So it's just nice to have a whole load of baby Velcro ties going around the case. So a pretty impressive case for the money. I mean, you might expect maybe a couple more features from another brand, such as Fractal Design. You might get like a removable top section or motherboard tray or something. But at this price, it's a pretty good looking case, and pretty large as well, actually. So just flipping it over and looking at the top, we've got a removable dust filter at the top there, and the ports, you get power, reset, 2 USB 3. We've got the Type-C port there, which we spoke about earlier, audio, and LED control for the lighting as well. So that is pretty much it from the Gungnir 300R case. So we are going to go ahead and install all our hardware. So what do we make of the PC that we've built today then? Well, the MSI Gungnir 300R case is quite possibly the star of the show. For around 130, 140 bucks, this thing looks absolutely awesome. Loads of room inside, very expandable, very flexible. And of course you get 4 120mm fans as standard, and you get an RGB lighting and fan hub around the back, as well as some of the best cable routing that I've seen from any case. So love those big chunky Velcro cable ties around the back. They just make it so much easier to tidy away a PC, and you even get little baby ones running around the bottom of the motherboard tray, which I absolutely love because they're great for tidying away the 8-pin CPU connector as well. So other things I can mention about this case: the anti-GPU sag mount is very, very easy to use. It did actually even make a difference on the Ventus 3X RTX 4070 Ti Super that we've got in the system today as well. So very, very cool looking system, and very cool and very quiet running as well. So the other thing we should mention is the motherboard. So this thing, excellent value for money. It does use DDR5 memory, but I think given that there's so little between DDR5 and DDR4 memory these days, if you're going for decent high-speed kits with RGB memory, it maybe is starting to look like you should go for DDR5 memory now if you're buying into a new system, and it's just for the very least that you can transplant that memory into a future system and upgrade it. So obviously everything else here, apart from the CPU and the motherboard, obviously you'll be able to transplant into a future system when you upgrade it, and that kind of argues a pretty good point for buying a new Intel system now with a 12th, 13th, or maybe even a 14th gen CPU that we've used today, and most of those are still readily available. Intel does have a new socket coming out very, very soon, well, not very, very soon, at the end of this year, but it's likely to cost quite a bit of money. At least that's what my money's on as well. So now could be actually a really good time to pick up some of the more affordable motherboards like this one, retailing for around 130 bucks. Drop in a mid-range CPU like the Core i5-14400 and a graphics card that is going to see you through for the next couple of years, that kind of thing. So a very interesting time for building a PC at the moment, a very affordable time as well compared to recent years. So I love this PC. Definitely something that I would consider owning myself. I maybe just need to dial back the size, because obviously I'm a mini ITX fan, and perhaps with a slightly more powerful CPU, because I do a lot of video editing and photo editing and all that kind of stuff. For gaming though, this is an absolutely awesome PC. So don't forget, all the hardware that you can see in the video today you can see in the description down below. If you want to click through those buy links, they just help me out through the affiliate schemes out there to help me run this channel. And also it means that you can pick the hardware that I've actually built with and tested today, and you can see more of them in the description below as well. So I'd like to thank MSI for sending over all the hardware, and if you found today's video useful, you can give me your thanks in the description down below, and you can even buy me a coffee, which all helps me running the channel. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will be back very, very soon. Catch you later.